the biggest issues and problems. So at the top of the list, people are actually saying low engagement and uneven participation. That is number one problem.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think this is very valid. It is not actually caused by virtualness of things. Actually, it is amplified by the virtualness of things. This happens all the time in face-to-face meetings as well.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so I noticed, of course, then in a virtual space, everything gets like blown up 10 times in proportion.
Yeah. People like to complain about it.
Yeah. So number two, technological challenges faced by sometimes it's participants, sometimes it's hosts. This, of course, gets reduced if people get more and more familiar with the virtualness of things.
So let me just check.
Number,
Were
yeah.
you gonna screen share or not? You're just
No, I was just
not
reading
here.
through.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
please. Mhm.
Right. So, number three, actually, it's about it's challenging for people to kind of sense the room, read the room, like, what are people saying? Are they agreeing? And then because when they stare at the screen, sometimes they will be thinking, you can't sense their body language. So if you really want to check for whether people are okay, there might be a need to be very deliberate. Like, is everything okay? If it's okay, can I see a thumbs up? Then you get some responses.
Mhm.
Or you might want to use those kind of like annotation function. And then I like to do the smiley face. From the frowning to the smiley face, then I just draw a line, right?
Yeah, like a
With
gradient.
different level of
Yeah.
intensity.
Mhm.
Then I can ask people, what do you think of this particular idea, perspective? What's your level of agreement on this? And then when people, of course, put in their annotation, now we are getting responses from the room. Then it allows people with differing perspective to kind of share a little bit. So I find that this particular thing about challenging to sense or read the room, I think when we talk about virtualness, this is going to be a big problem.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we will need some tools or techniques to help us. So if
Mhm.
we just rely on Zoom, and then with just the windows of Zoom, it will be very tough. But if we have an add-on, whether it's PowerPoint annotation, whether you use some polling tools, whether you use Google Jamboard or any visualization tool, I think it will help to a certain extent.
Mm. Mm.
Number four, uneasiness to go into deep discussions and conversation. I think as I notice as we go down the list, a big part of it actually deals with people's how should I say, the people factor lah. So it is fairly common for us, in meetings face to face. I think people sometimes talk about things that's tougher, that's more sensitive, that requires a lot more deliberation. But in an online setting, I think people are just not so used to it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and one thing I notice finding out when I have conversation with clients, switching on the camera is not a norm.
Mm.
Like for us, I think as facilitators, we often have a way of convincing people or enticing people to switch on their cam. So our sessions are fairly effective, I would say. But I notice in a lot of corporate settings, the default is always camera off.
Yeah. Camera off, mic off. Hey, you have no idea who's there.
Yeah, you have no idea who's there, and sometimes they have two computers. They are actually on two meetings.
Yeah. Wow. That's is I don't know if that's typical in North America, but you've heard about that in the APAC region. Mm.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. Yeah, people tell me that they get double booked for meetings and they have to attend both, so that's what they do. Yeah,
Wow.
and they say, "Oh, I'm so effective." So I wonder about how effective that is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
right.
tricky. Okay.
Yeah, that's the fourth. The last one, interestingly, is people feel socially distant with one another.
Hmm.
And I noticed that that is actually a contributory factor to all the rest. Yeah, if I cannot connect with you well, I do not understand you well, I don't establish a relationship with you. That's why I feel uncomfortable going to deep discussion. That's why I don't feel comfortable showing you my real emotions and what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. That's why maybe I stay quiet as well. So I
Yeah.
noticed this part about feeling socially distant. about not establishing relationship with people, I think it is very, very critical. For us as our work as facilitators, perhaps while this is rated number 5 of the top 5, right? I think it is probably the most important one that we need to address.